Console, online. HPG connection, online. Educational module, online. All systems, nominal.
Hello, class, and welcome to On the Origin of Battlemechs Podcast, episode 43, The Victor, Part B. I am your host, Brent Stewart McKee. My co-hosts today are...
I'm Joshua.
And I'm Chandler.
And returning to round out our week of Victor is...
Derek. And it's not that Victor. It's the mech Victor, not that Victor.
Although during the show break, we did confirm that Victor did pilot a Victor at the very beginning, which is, hilarious for the short term.
And I'm wondering if he was named after the Victor because of his pivotal role in saving his mother's life. I mean, that's actually a really good question.
Stranger things have happened.
Because Patrick Kell was driving one of our notable pilots' mechs, and when he fought Yorinaga Kurita to save Melissa Steiner's life on her secret mission. Hey, I'll talk about that later.
We call that foreshadowing.
You calm down.
We'll get there.
Fine.
You sit back down in your seat.
I'm going to need you to take about 20% off the top there.
Oh, look at that. The ground.
For our episode today, we are going to pick up right where we left off. We are going to start with the Victor C, coming out in 3050. Of course, the Victor C is the clan refit design for the garrison units back home, so the frontline units can go and be annoying and problematic and frustrating for all of the inner sphere.
And fight Victors.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I think this is the best C model we've seen from any clan retrofit yet.
This one is very strong.
Yeah, I really like this one.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually they're throwing their clan tech lasers in all over the place, and the thing is a easy bake oven for the pilot. This thing, the heat's actually manageable.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, it does actually add those TER lasers we were talking about earlier to the mech. So
actually, the thing I really like to see is the SRMs are upgraded to streak. That's nice to see.
And that's because the clans technically don't have standard SRMs anymore.
That's true, which is, not a bad thing when you really think about it.
Unless you want to use special ammo.
I just want an LB-20.
I think the thing I find most interesting about this is it doesn't need the endosteel chassis like the K/D/ whatever that mech is. But what I do like about it is it's the fact that it's not using endosteel or any of that, but yet it still kind of finds itself underweight by 2 tons. Which is kind of weird. Like, why didn't they use that for something to add more armor or, whatever else? Even 2 more lasers.
Yeah.
You think the clans care enough about those pilots?
No.
I think almost by definition, all these Cs are quick and dirty refits, right? They're just ripping out the inner sphere weapons and putting in clan weapons. That's it.
Kicking it out the door.
So, it's got a movement profile of 464. It's got a Streak SRM-4 clan in the left torso, a Gauss Rifle clan in the right arm, and 2 ER medium lasers clan in the left arm. It's got 15 single heat sinks, and it's got 3 tons of ammo for that Gauss Rifle.
And if it alpha strikes, it's not even generating walking heat. You have to run or jump in order to push past those 15 single heat sinks.
Which is not too shabby.
Yeah, it's extremely efficient.
Unfortunately for how amazing it is, this thing is Clan Jade Falcon only during the Clan Invasion era, and then it goes extinct.
Yeah, so short-lived, but it's a cool thing to look at.
Definitely.
Now, Catalyst, if anybody over there is listening, a new Victor C for the recognition guides that makes it available and not experimental in the Dark Ages would be sweet, because I would totally put one on my 350 list.
Maybe make it a Ghost Bear mech. I would be down for a Ghost Bear Victor.
I don't want to give anything to the Jade Falcons at this point, so...
Yeah. I'm all for more assault mechs for Clan Ghost Bear, so, Catalyst, please do your thing.
We really don't want to see Clan Jade Falcon be the victor in what's coming soon.
Oh,
jeez.
So this guy's got a battle value of 1925 and a point value of 37. Then we come to the VTR-C, seen in 3054. This guy has a movement profile of 464. He's got a SRM-4 in the left torso, a Gauss rifle in the right arm, 2 medium pulse lasers in the left arm, and he's got 14 single heat sinks, but he also has a C3 slave. So getting some targeting info or giving it out is, I think, really will help him shine as a member of a team, because getting some better data for your Gauss rifle at long range, great. Handing out some data for your catapults or archers to rain missiles down on something close to you while you hammer something else, also great.
Yeah, this guy's really, really nice looking. There is an interesting discrepancy here. The 3050 upgrade TRO says the Victor 9C swaps out one heat sink to mount a C3 slave. The master unit list does not have a Victor 9C.
Well, I can see that being just because the C variant is based off the 9 variant. It's literally just a 9 without a heatsink, and then they use the C3.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I think it's an interesting discrepancy that the TRO calls it a 9C, master unit list just calls it a straight C, and I'm not sure why that is.
Yeah, looking at them on Mech Factory, they're almost the exact same.
Yeah, especially since the Victor C exists with the clan tech. So, Catalyst, get on that. Come on, man.
I could understand it being a typo somewhere on, like, master unit list, but it's on the record sheet, so I'm like, that doesn't seem... It must have been somewhere pretty high up the chain if it was a typo.
Yeah, so I just thought I'd point that out, that if you see something listed as the Victor 9C, it's probably the exact same as the Victor-C listed on master unit list.
Good to note. So this guy's got a battle value of 1717 and a point value of 43. So really seeing a jump in that point value for the C3. Next up we have the 10S. And this guy is going to break with tradition and have a movement profile of 4-6. No jumping. But it does have a heavy Gauss rifle in the right torso / center torso. It's got a anti-missile system in the left torso, an SRM-4 in the left torso, a Gauss rifle in the right arm, and 2 ER medium lasers in the left arm. It also has 10 double heat sinks. So this is different.
This is what I expect from a Steiner design. Put the biggest weapon possible and just slap it on there and let it go to town.
Is it slapped on there or is it wedged in there?
I mean,
yes, both.
I guess in the case of the Victor 9S, it's slapped on there because it's on the outer part of its arm.
10S.
Or yeah, 10S, sorry.
No worries.
Yeah.
I thought you said it was torso and center torso.
Yeah, the heavy Gauss is in the center torso / right torso.
Okay, yeah, now I see it. All right.
Because that's one of the things with heavy Gauss rifles is they're not allowed to be mounted in turrets or arms.
Yeah, that is right. I forgot about that. Ugh.
The Steiner engineers didn't stop to consider whether they should, only if they could.
Now, I have to say, I do like that because it addresses my problem from earlier where it would only be able to punch with its Gauss arm. Now it doesn't have a Gauss arm, so it can punch freely.
Oh, no, it still has a Gauss
arm. It still has a Gauss arm.
It still has that right arm
Gauss. It still has
Gauss.
a regular Gauss.
It has 2 Gauss rifles.
It's got a heavy Gauss and a regular Gauss.
Yeah.
Mad lads.
Like I said, they didn't stop to think whether they should, only if they could.
Yeah, but it's got that XL engine though.
And
you cause that heavy Gauss rifle to explode, and well, it's game over, man.
Oh no, it doesn't even have case. If you just get the arm Gauss to go, and then that'll make the heavy Gauss go, and then all of a sudden you got a pinata.
Oh yeah, like I was about to say, considering there's no case, how much ammo is in the left torso, and it's an XL, so that's all those extra slots, and you got the heavy Gauss taking up the entirety of the right torso.
What ammo does it have in the torso?
AMS and SRM-4.
Why would you put your ammo next to your...
I think we referred to Chandler's original statement.
I think this is the only place they could fit it, because with the endo steel, you're taking up every critical slot you can.
Well, what I'm confused about is why they put the heavy Gauss on the same side of the mech as the other Gauss. It's just half your mech is gun.
And especially since the SRM is normally on the other side. The SRM is normally on the other side, so put the SRM ammo over there. Then both sides can explode.
Yeah, no, that's how it is. Left torso has your AMS ammo, your SRM-4 ammo, and then your heavy Gauss ammo. The heavy Gauss rifle is in your center torso, right torso, and then you have the regular Gauss rifle in your right arm. So
its ammo is in the
literally have you have a chain of explosion. Luckily, Gauss rifle ammo doesn't explode.
The weapon does.
Yeah, so what at that point?
But I mean, if it did, it would just be even better.
So what you're saying is we put the Gauss ammo around the SRM and AMS ammo, so if it explodes, that's the only thing that gets damaged.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. What could go wrong?
I don't know.
So this guy was seen in 3062 and has a battle value of 2034 and a point value of 44.
I didn't mention this, but I do like it. Do like that it has an AMS system. It's something we don't see enough. Dang it.
AMSs, I think they don't get used enough because I think they're a little too deep in the rules for like entry level players, if you know what I mean. But like they're a really cool mechanic that you would see, and it feels once you think about it, it feels wrong not to see it more.
Yeah.
And it can even be used as a machine gun. It's just really short ranged.
I think you're much more likely to see it in Alpha Strike because it's pretty simple there. If you get attacked by an enemy that has LRM, SRM, or indirect fire, you reduce the amount of damage they do by 1.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Whereas in Classic, it does a penalty to the cluster or something.
yeah, but I think there's a dice roll.
It does weird things. Yeah.
I just know how. I just know in Mega Mech it goes voosh, and that's about it. I don't really have to think about it.
A great reason Mega Mech is a fantastic on-ramp for classic Battletech.
And of course, in MechWarrior Online, AMS is extra useful because it can shoot down missile fire coming into allied mechs near you.
Mm-hmm. Same
And
with,
it can shoot through walls.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen it do that. It's pretty awesome.
That's ridiculous. So next up we have the 10D, which comes out in 3064. This guy has a movement profile of 464, so going back to having some jump jets. We've got a Streak SRM-4 in the left torso, an Ultra AC-20 in the right arm, and the 2 ER medium lasers in the left arm. It's also got 12 double heat sinks, so this guy's going to run a pretty cool. And this is nice. It's got a fair amount of ammo for that Ultra AC-20. You can...
I think we should kick this over to Chandler.
Yeah.
It's got 6 tons. How do you feel about that, Chandler?
On a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 20.
There you go.
Just if it was a clan 20. If it was a clan Ultra 20. You get that extra 3 hexes of range, but, you can't have everything. You don't always get what you want. Please don't copyright strike us.
Hey man, we don't have all these fancy clan tech laying around in the Federated Suns. It's hard to come by. Plus, this is the height of the Civil War. We just needed to get something out there because kicking Steiners off of New Avalon, it's important.
Well, and it goes to those ER medium lasers, which is nice because that punches your short range and medium range out there.
Yeah.
It's got that Streak SRM-4. Streak is always nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like this. I mean, again, going back to the heavy cavalry mech, it definitely plays that role. Jumps over some terrain, turns on that Ultra 20, and makes things die.
Yeah, I mean, we were saying there wasn't many mechs that can survive an AC-20 to the back. If you hit with both shots with an Ultra 20, you could find very few mechs that can take that and not be severely, mortally wounded. Not to mention, all the other weapons.
I was going to say, then you follow it up with the 4 2-point hits from the Streak SRM-4, and yeah.
Then the 2 ER mediums
you
for
make people go
measure.
away.
The only survivable situation I'm seeing is you jump in behind someone, or someone jumps in behind you, they shoot in your back, and everything just gets cleaved off the left and right torso, so you're just center torso standing there with, of course, pristine armor on the front and back.
Yeah. Best case scenario is both the 20 shots just hit like an arm, and then you're just like, well, he's missing an arm, but he's not dead.
Well, I mean, unless most of your weapons are in your arms, then it's a quite unfortunate.
Unless it's a clan mech.
Yeah.
Good old clan Omni mechs. Aim for the arms.
So this guy's got a battle value of 1894 and a point value of 39. And we follow up the 10D with the 11D. This guy came out in 3065, so just a year later. Keeps that movement profile of 464. It's got 15 double heat sinks, and it's got a different weapons loadout. It's got a C3 Slave in the head. It's got a Streak SRM-4 in the left torso, a rotary AC-5 in the right arm, and 2 ER large lasers in the left arm. And also has endo steel and a light fusion engine. This is interesting. It's got case to keep that ammo safe. It's got 3 tons for the rack and 1 ton for the SRM.
I feel like this is the Omi Kurita present to Victor, because it's got that C3 slave in an era when that's really still a Draconis Combine trick.
I mean, seeing as the Draconis Combine did support Victor, I mean, as much as they could, quote unquote, wink wink, nudge nudge.
Yeah.
I mean, overall, I think the mecha as it is really good.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my experience with Rotary 5s has not necessarily been the greatest in tabletop. MWO, I have a deep fascination and love for the Rotary. But different, they handle very differently. The 2 ER large lasers, I do like that. I mean, because essentially it is as soon as you run out of your Rotary, you still can dish out some serious damage.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
And then the C3.
You're not going to run out of your Rotary anytime soon, because you got 60 shots with it. So even if you were wrong and you ran it 6 shots every turn, that's 10
You were
turns.
wrong and incredibly lucky.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess I'm just saying, endurance-wise, on a battlefield, it's got some decent endurance where it could keep on the battlefield for a while, even with just those 2 ER large lasers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I do kind of dislike the 2 ER large, simply because the Victor's a traditional close quarters mech, and if you kept that kind of close quarters weapon profile and had the C3 slave on there, like the VTR 9C, I think that would have made a lot more sense, because then you get in close and you hit them with your big Ultra AC-20 or whatever,
Mhm.
and then pass your targeting data back.
Yeah, I mean, the C3 slave, you kind of really want to either get in close or be far away to really take advantage of it, and having that extended range on the 3 heavy weapons or the 3 primary weapons kind of pushes you back, but you can still get in close, I think. It just feels less incentivized, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
From an optimization standpoint, I think instead of a rotary, you want an Ultra AC5 in there, because that matches up with the ER larges a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Or an
Lets you
LB.
snipe. Or an LB.
But this thing just wants to be the A10 of Victors. It just wants to go Burt.
It just wants to DACA.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Obviously, the 11D is supposed to work with other Victors with C3 and make a Victor C3 Lance. And this is the sniper variant.
Well, this guy's got a battle value of 2021 and a point value of 44. And then we are going to go over to the 10L, which is, of course, not a Davion model. This is a House Liao model, because at this point, the St. Ives compact has been reabsorbed, if I am remembering correctly.
Yep. Or St. Ives.
Yeah, the wrong kids ended up on the throne. This guy has a movement profile of 464. He has 10 double heat sinks, and he's got a ER medium laser in the head, an SRM-6 in the right torso, a Guardian ECM in the left torso, and a Gauss rifle in the right arm, and 2 ER medium lasers in the left arm. Also has endo, and he also has stealth armor too. So, you know, Capellans being what they are, they got to put stealth armor on everything they can.
It's also got more armor than any of the other Victor designs we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
15 and a half
Yeah.
tons of stealth.
That'll mess you up. Well, that'll keep you from being messed up. Oh no, you finally hit me.
I just have one problem with this mech.
It's
loud.
compelling.
It's
It's
a,
Capellan.
Yeah.
It's a filthy blasphemy of a glorious battle mech.
And yeah, this guy has a standard fusion engine, so you can technically lose both torsos and still have a weapon.
yeah, you'll be a stick, but you'll be a very deadly stick.
You get your dick laser.
Come over, I'll kick you.
Bite your arms off.
I want to like this Victor because it's got stealth armor and a Gauss rifle,
Mm-hmm.
but it has an SRM-6 and ER medium lasers. This guy wants to be a sniper. He wants to hang back and hammer things with that Gauss rifle and something else. But he has to get in fairly close in order to get that SRM and those ER medium lasers to be effective.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a nice try, but you're really not doing sniping right.
Kind of like a half step.
Yeah.
I guess you could see it more as an ambush mech, I guess, because with that stealth armor, Guardian ECM, you can basically open your ambush with your Gauss rifle and then just go to town, getting in close and mixing it up with that, with those 3 ER lasers and the SRM-6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think you could have gone to like an MML5 at the cost of one of those ER medium lasers. It would have been a straight swap with the SRM-6 at that point.
Now that is interesting.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if you could have put an LRM-10 in there, but just something to complement that Gauss rifle.
Yeah, the Gauss rifle feels very low in that assortment.
I think an Ultra 20 actually would be really good in this guy. To
Yeah,
get the
that-
Gauss
well,
rifle,
use
Ultra
the stealth
20.
armor to get in nice and close and then rip into him with
Yeah,
it.
but you lose the benefit of your stealth armor at short range.
Well, yeah,
Which
and
is
that's
why
then
I
you
think
just
the
turn it
Gauss
off, and
makes
then
sense.
you have the ECM. Use the stealth armor as a utility,
Yeah.
not as the main toy.
Yeah, I'm just thinking along the lines of making this more effective as an ambush mech. You give it that 20, it's stealth armor, guardian ECM, and then it pops out and it ruins people's days at close range.
Yeah, I guess I can see that.
Well, as it stands right now, on paper, this guy has a battle value of 2279 and a point value of 44. And of course, that's stealth armor and ECM bumping up that point value, and also battle value. Then we come to the Victor VTR-9K2, Victor St. James.
So this Victor wants to be really confusing, because usually when we see a 2, it means it's a retrofit of a Word of Blake design. Cameron St. James is one of the most famous Word of Blake members. This thing is really like, I'm a Word of Blake mech.
It's a red herring if there ever was one.
Yes, because it's not a Word of Blake mech. It's a crazy Davion mech.
And of course, we will cover the pilot of this mech a little later in the episode. This guy has a interesting weapons loadout and a interesting. Well, this whole thing is just interesting. It's got a movement profile of 4-6, but it also can bump that up to a 8 when it turns on its supercharger. It's got 12 double heat sinks. It's got endo steel, and it also, for weapons, has a long tom cannon in the right arm / right torso, and it has 2 medium X pulse lasers in the left arm. And then it's got Pharaoh, but the Pharaoh is only on certain parts of the mech because of, well, this guy's not exactly in any sort of supply chain, so...
It's patchwork armor from the advanced rules and campaign stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the big thing you have to remember about this one is that this is entirely custom. This is the only one that exists out of this mech, unless some other mad made one.
And I think we should point out that this is a long tom cannon, not a long tom artillery piece.
Yes.
So,
An important distinction.
yeah, so this artillery cannons in Battletech basically function as kind of direct line of sight howitzers that use the indirect LRM fire rules. So they're really funky. I believe they were developed in order to explain some of the MechWarrior Dark Age game mechs and equipment.
Mm-hmm. Just putting that square peg in that round hole.
Yeah. So this thing does not have a multiple map sheet range. It only goes up to 20. It always fires with the indirect fire penalties like an LRM. They're very unwieldy. But it's 20 points of damage out to 20 hexes, and it's area of effect, so I believe that's going to be like 15, 10, and 5. So it can splash quite a large area.
Mm-hmm. It's also got some interesting or different art. I don't know if they've actually changed. No, they changed the arm, and that's about it. But they gave it a very grayscale paint job, which I think really makes it look good.
Yeah, it definitely highlights a lot of the like clamshell in the chest, and it essentially gives you a lot better look at the recessing on the mech instead of it looking just flat.
Yeah.
And I believe they did that dark gray paint scheme for the 9K art to reflect that the notable pilot I'll be talking about later painted the mech black.
Mm-hmm.
I think this mech is actually supposed to be painted black. The St. James.
You can have it in any color
So,
you want, as long as it's
Didn't I
black.
just say that?
Oh, no, my bad. I'm gonna go back in my corner now.
I was like, is there an echo
You
in
go
here?
back in your corner. You go back in your corner with the Davion flags and Victor Steiner Davion plushes.
I mean, if they sold one, I would have one. So, you know.
You know, where you're stationed, you can probably get a Victor Steiner Davion body pillow.
I was just thinking a Moe body
could,
pillow.
but
Yeah.
I'd rather have a Melissa Steiner, I'm just gonna say.
That'd be weird.
I think I can hear the Wolfnet guys yelling, Black Widow!
Yeah.
Natasha Kerensky.
Yelling, Natasha Kerensky!
Malvina Hazen.
Let's not go there.
Yeah.
You know,
And-
Moving
some
on.
people might be into that. Some people like it a little crazy.
We don't kink shame, but we do try to keep it family friendly, so we're gonna move right along.
So going back to the the 9K2. In universe, I think this is a very interesting concept to have a sort of cut down artillery cannon mounted on mechs to provide that massive artillery support in a mobile fashion.
I mean, this looks like it handles it better than the Helopolis, so...
But the Helopolis is not using a cannon. It's using an actual artillery
This is true.
case.
This is true.
Yeah. So I think these howitzers, I'm going to call them howitzers because that's...
Easy nomenclature.
Yeah. So I think it's a cool concept to have this kind of short-range howitzer mounted on a mech. Unfortunately, rules-wise, they have so many penalties to shoot that I don't think it really works out.
Well, this guy's got a battle value of 2006 and a point value of 50. And next up we have the Victor CR. And this guy is first seen in 3069.
Giggity.
Nice. And we get to see this guy's movement profile of 464. He's got a C3 boosted slave, a streak SRM4, a hypervelocity autocannon 10 in the right arm, and 2 medium lasers in the left arm. So of course this guy is experimental tech. He also has 10 single heat sinks and endo steel.
Kind of a shame he's got that hypervelocity AC-10, which makes him experimental because otherwise it's a pretty interesting concept.
Oh yeah.
I believe, as I recall, the hypervelocity cannons were an attempt to recreate Gauss rifle ranges before Gauss rifles became widespread again.
Yep. Yeah, this is a really wacky mech, especially for it being like a Jihad refit. I was surprised someone even got their mitts on a hypervelocity AC-10 during Jihad. Like, what the?
Yeah, because the hypervelocity gun came out in, 3059, and it was Capellan Confederation first came out with it.
Yeah, and it's not lost tech, it's abandoned tech, because we got the Gauss rifle back.
Yeah. I think it might have been designed by the Capellans just because they just didn't have a lot of Gauss rifles to go around, so...
What's in the warehouse?
Yeah, pretty much. You're like, huh,
We got
that
this
works.
really weird looking cannon. It makes a big boom.
And it goes fast.
I mean, we have seen models, especially by the Capellans, where they're just like, cool, this has single heat sinks, because we have warehouses of them.
Yeah.
I think this is another Victor, and this one especially because it's got the boosted slave, where they would have been better off just putting an AC-20 in there.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, all of it, that hypervelocity AC-10 is the only thing that reaches out past 12 hexes. You've got boosted slave, so you're better at punching through ECM. And that's what I'm surprised to see on it so relatively early, is that boosted ECM. That boosted slave would have allowed you to get in close, not worry about ECM as much, give it that AC-20, and it can assist a lance of snipers.
Yeah, but I mean, the 20 hex long range on the Hyper is not terrible, because that means you can engage while you're closing if need be. So it doesn't have a minimum range. It can still punch up right close, but then of course you're not having the same power as an AC-20. Can't win them all, right?
Well, and it can explode on you.
That's also true. But it does have case to help with that.
Yeah, it does kind of solve that problem through case.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
There's a reason why this is the last Liao Victor you ever see. You get that fancy dancy Lu Wei being the superior Victor.
Yeah.
Whoa. Oh, you calm down over there.
Have you looked at the Lu Wei being?
So, this guy's got a battle value of 1465 and a point value of 40. We then come to the last one on our list today, the 9KA, seen in 3076. And this guy has a movement profile of 465. It's got an autocannon 20 in the right arm / right torso. And it's got a medium laser in the left arm. It's also got 12 single heat sinks and case to help protect itself, and it's a Victor.
It's a sad Victor, though, because while it finally gets that jump profile up to the Magic 5,
yeah,
it only has an AC-20 and 1 medium laser. So it's got less firepower than a Hunchback, which is just really sad on an
AC-20 that's split between the right arm and right torso? What?
Yeah, that's weird. I have not seen that before.
Let me open this bad boy up.
I was hoping one of you guys could enlighten me.
Yeah, and Mech
as to
Factory
why
just
it's
says
doing
right
that.
arm, so...
No, I'm looking at Mech Factory, and it does have a drop down into the right torso.
Really? Yeah.
Is it just not have enough critical slots, or what's going on there?
Yeah.
That's kinda
So
weird.
it has the lower arm on it, so it has a lower arm actuator.
Oh.
which
Weird.
I don't know why you would put that on there, unless this is supposed to be a direct refit from a different Victor, just to slap an AC-20 on it and send it out to go kill Blakeists.
Well, I mean, it is a refit from the 9K, which has a lower arm actuator because the Gauss rifle doesn't take up as many crit slots.
See, there we go. That's
Yeah.
our answer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sad it's not an LB-20, but I also understand why, because it's the Jihad.
Yeah.
I guess all that tonnage is going into the improved jump jets are what's taking up all the tonnage because they weigh twice as much as the standard ones.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that and you have
Yeah,
6
that's
tons
10
of
tons
AC-20
right there.
ammo.
Yeah, that's a lot of ammo.
Well, you need that much ammo when that's your only gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, at least you have case, so if it takes a hit, you're gonna be okay, kind of.
Yeah, with your single medium laser in your left arm. Yeah,
Well, I mean, you're not dead. That's what I
true.
was going
You can-
after here.
fair
You
enough.
can limp it back to the factory and put a new side torso on.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're not going to be seen from orbit.
I mean, you'll be seen from low Earth orbit.
I mean, it wasn't. Yeah.
So this guy's got a battle value of 1594, and he's got a point value of 35. And now we're moving on to pilot profiles, and our first pilot up today is Field Marshal Adrian Sortek, and I'm going to throw over to Derek for that one.
Well, Field Marshal Adrian Sortek, or Prince's Champion Adrian Sortek, depending on what era we're looking at him in. He was born in 2993. What makes him fascinating, I guess, to say in the BattleTech universe is he did drive a Victor, as we mentioned earlier, but he is probably the longest running character in the actual BattleTech universe, with basically him being in one of the first books put out. What's it called? Hold on. The Sword and the Dagger, and then his last appearance being Endgame, the last of the Civil War trilogy. So he served a long time.
Oh yeah, I do remember reading that at the time when the Endgame had just come out and being like, oh man, this is like the closing of a chapter, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it really is, because when spoiler alert, he ends up dying at the end of the Civil War. He's killed in the Battle of New Avalon when Victor takes it back from his sister. I know, many did not know this, but I'm gonna break that to you. It's quite a sad event. A great Davion hero was killed. But anyway, so what makes Mr. Sortek quite interesting is the fact of the different events he played in. As we mentioned earlier, his Victor during the Fourth Succession War would be used by Patrick Kell and would be the mech that he would die in, actually, against
Yorinaga.
Yeah, Yorinaga Kurita. Sorry, I was blanking on the name. He would later, he basically piloted a Victor his entire career, from his graduation, his posting with the 17th Avalon Hussars, his time as Prince's Champion / Field Marshal in the Davion military, all the way up till almost till his death, when he was allowed to jump into a Templar Omnimech. And yeah,
I can't blame him for that. The Templar is a beautiful machine.
I mean, that's why it was the mech I was driving for the longest time, and I still have a special place in my heart for that mech. So someday when you get to the Templar, we can talk about its glories, its Davion glories.
I'll pencil you in for that one.
Thank you.
3
But
years
yeah,
from
so
now.
basically, the man had a great life, a storied life at that, seeing as the men and women that he met in his time. He also, interestingly enough, served as an usher at the wedding of Hans Davion and Melissa Steiner, and happened to be the usher that put a certain spy into his seat at that wedding, who would go on to ruin the day of the Capellan Confederation, which is always a great thing. So anyway, that is Adrian Sortek.
So Sword and Dagger, that's Third Succession War?
No, it's just before the Fourth Succession War, because
Yeah.
it covers the plot by Maximilian to replace Hans Davion with a body double.
Which gets referenced in the Warrior trilogy. So it's supposed to have taken like 18 months prior to the beginning of the Fourth Succession War.
So I'm just trying to figure out how many different time periods he's in.
He
20.
starts service in the AFFS in, I think it's like, his first reference is 3019, and then all the way to 3065, 3067 is when he's killed.
Going by Master Unit lists, eras, 3019 is the last year of the Late Succession War, Lost Tech, and then Late Succession War Renaissance, which basically covers the Fourth Succession War, War of 3039, all the way up to right before the Clan Invasion. So he's in Late Succession War, Lost Tech, Late Succession War Renaissance, Clan Invasion, and Civil War.
And almost makes it all the way to the Jihad.
That's impressive. I think the only other person with a timeline like that is
Morgan Kell?
and Jamie Wolfe.
What about Anastasius?
Yeah.
Get fucked.
Focht? I mean, technically, but I don't think he has anything written about him prior to the Warrior Trilogy.
Cough, cough, Frederick Steiner, cough, cough.
Okay, but again,
Yeah.
does he have anything written about him?
I don't believe so. I'd have to take a look,
He-
but I don't think he does.
So essentially, he was theoretically there, but not really.
Yeah, he just wasn't named. We don't know what he was doing.
Lots of characters were in the margins, let's face it.
Yeah, true.
So next up we have Captain Sater Donnell, a member of the 12th Vegan Rangers Beta Regiment. Donnell served with distinction during the Capellan invasion and later during the Fedcom Civil War. In 3068, he was transferred to New Avalon to drive off the Word of Blake forces, where he again proved invaluable in the urban combat of the ruined capital. The last record we have of him is fighting fresh reinforcements with his company in the shattered capital.
I believe it's Slater, not Sater.
Oh, I must have
L
have dropped the L there. Captain Slater Donnell.
And last up in our trifecta of Davion pilots, we have Colonel Benedict St. James, who was the pilot of that one-off Victor 9K2 St. James we talked about a little while ago with the Long Tom artillery cannon. His son was a member of the AFFS during the Taurian invasion of the, I guess it'd be the Pleiades in 3069. Lieutenant Benjamin St. James was killed in action against the Taurian Lancers, and when Colonel Benedict St. James retired, heard about this, he disappeared with the family's Victor, and that's where his official records end, but a heavily modified Victor painted flat black was spotted on several Taurian worlds and destroyed the houses and estates of a number of members of the Taurian Lancers. So it's widely assumed that this is Colonel St. James carrying out a one-man revenge crusade against the Taurian Concordat.
A great hero of the House of Davion, you mean?
It reminds me a lot of the storyline from HBS, just flip.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's understandable. You know, the grief of losing a child is a strong emotion.
yeah, and it's interesting
Yeah.
because his this mech has been noted to destroy both mechs and fortified Taurian complexes with that Long Tom cannon or howitzer.
So what you're saying is no estate is safe.
No.
There is no estate.
So, for our data dive today, we are going to continue to look at the Federated Suns, but we are going to jump back a little bit. We are going to look at how do you pronounce this? Muscan?
The Musk?
Muscovy?
Yeah, that one.
Which one? Throw it in chat, because I don't have notes on this. What are we talking about?
I don't know what we're talking about either. I just said Muscovy because it sounded like you were saying something Russian.
No, it's here. I got it. Hold on.
Musefire?
Muskegon.
Muscagons.
Muskegon?
Isn't that a kind of fish?
No.
Muskie?
How do you spell Muskegon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Muskegon?
think it's a fish. It's a city in
Alright.
Michigan, first off.
Muskegon.
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 Okay.
Yeah, Muskegon.
there
Got,
we go.
got
Muskegon,
that.
Michigan.
Apparently
Alright.
they had an empire. Huh.
So, Muskegon was one of the first planets to settle in the expansion, much by mistake, as in 2163, a colony ship set out for McHenry, but during the transit was stranded by a jump failure in the system of Muskegon. With a single harsh but resource-rich planet, to survive, the colony enacted harsh restrictions and limited power to jump ship staff and their descendants, and within a few generations you had a dictatorial class society. But despite the draconian measures, or more likely because of it, the colony not only survived but began to prosper, at least for the aristocracy. In 2177, they were able to repair their jump ship and started to expand. 2 new colonies were set up, sold as trying to find a new home with better conditions, but the reality is that when the 2 new planets were found, both no better than Muskegon, the colonists were dumped and set up with little to no support. One colony was of volunteers who colonized Benson Quietos, and the other was of political prisoners who colonized Emerson. Neither was favored, both were exploited. By 2190, Muskegon had laid claim to 6 colonies of its own. Muskegon was one of the planets to be visited by Lucian during... Sorry?
Muskegon.
I'm gonna have to edit that out of this.
And I was going to say, it's really probably it, despite the authoritarian nature, because we don't really see prosperous nations that are extremely authoritarian in history.
It's true. So Muskegon was one of the planets to be visited by Lucian during his tour, but it was also one of the 2 that did not initially sign on. But the following year, in 2318, Jehem Archimedes, the commander of Muskegon, did join, hoping the alliance would help secure his power, as many of its own colonies were chafing under his rule and wished for independence. 2 of the colonies went so far as to declare independence because of this and reach out to the Chesterton Community States as an organization that over time would join the Tikhonov Union for support. This, of course, caused a conflict that proliferated along the Federated Sons and Chesterton Community State border. For 3 years, the Federated Sons and the Chesterton State battled for the planets, each side wrestling control back and forth. In the end, Chesterton, supported by Tikhonov, retained control, but this was a warning, or as others looked at it, a sign of weakness, and quickly the Rimworld March, the name for the region at the time, erupted in conflict, with each other nation attempting to grab what they could. This, of course, taxed the Federated Sons military to its stretching point, and probably beyond to its breaking point, and the Federated Sun quickly learned it was easier to send troops than to supply them, once again showing the important lesson that many leaders never learn. It doesn't matter how many troops you have on the ground if they don't have any bullets in their gun.
And I think this is something Derek can tell us more about.
Oh, military logistics? Yeah. It's a very overlooked thing. Let's just say that. A lot of people like to do, the cool things, like blowing stuff up. But where do you get that stuff to blow stuff up from? Yeah. That's the hard part of everything.
I think I really learned or started to grasp the concept when someone told me, the military moves on its stomach. It's like, oh yeah, you got to feed people, right? Oh, that's a big problem when you scale things up.
That's Napoleon.
Yeah, that's like one of my big things as an Army logistics officer, just looking at the universe of Battletech. It sometimes wants to make my head explode, because just all the different mechs, we don't have anything standardized. So it's like, hey, I've got a Victor, I've got an Archer, I got a Stalker, I got this, and it's like, I don't have the parts to fix any of that.
Well, and it makes some sense of why so many Battletech warships are quote unquote terrible, because they devote a third or more of their carry capacity to supplies.
Yeah, that is true. Most of the time when you're doing a planetary invasion, the bulk of your dropships aren't actually filled with troops.
No.
Or that's why you're looting somebody's warehouse and trying to fly his way as quickly as possible, because, you know.
Yeah, if it's dropping in empty, you want it to leave full.
Yeah, what is it? Amateurs study tactics, professionals study logistics.
Yep, something like that.
There's lots of variations of that one.
Yeah, there are.
For all the strengths of Lucien Davion, he did have a failing. He was a terrible battle commander, and as stated previously, he retired in 2332, having dedicated his life to the Federated Sun, but seeing all that he had built starting to crumble around the edges, and the torch of governance was passed from him to his brother, Charles Davion. Charles, like his brother, was smart, dedicated, and effective, but Charles was not idealistic like his brother. He wanted power, and he wanted a legacy. The first reform we will talk about is the formation of the Federated Peacekeeping Force, or FPF. As before this, when responding to internal or external threats, the Federated Sun would have to gather an army and train them. That is correct, class. The neo-feudalistic state had no standing army, just like the medieval feudal lords of Terra.
Oh, no.
Obviously, this was a problem, as you can't project your force if you have no forces to project. He started by harvesting elite units from major planets and used them to form and train the new FPF, so that the Federated Suns would have a standing army that operated independently of any one planet. The Federated Peacekeeping Force focused on supporting the Federated Sun as a whole and installed the principles of nation over planet. Drawing from every corner of the Sun's territory, it would be a major factor in shaping the Federated Sun's identity. More so because the fact that Charles was not above appointing friends and allies into critical positions in the officer corps. But luckily for the Federated Suns, it appears that he never placed any sycophant in any position beyond their capabilities. This allowed the Federated Suns to, if not turn the tide, then to at least stem the oncoming onslaught by the foreign powers. Much like Lucien Davion, Charles would not live to see the fruits of his labors fully flourish, for he learned from his brother's mistakes in not designating an heir, and so named Renard Davion, Lucien's son, the only child of the four brothers, as deputy prime minister. This proved to be an important move, as Charles would die of a heart attack mid-council meeting outlining the actions on the Charleston front in 2340. Renard was not fortunate in the way his uncle Charles was, as Charles received little pushback on his election due to the hard work of his brother. Renard was faced with a governing body whose feathers had been ruffled due to Charles's reforms and machinations. Despite this, Renard ascended with no real political opposition, a testament to the strength of the Davion dynasty. Historians credit this victory in part to the fact that Lucien and Charles had worked hard to tie the Davion name to New Avalon, and the people of New Avalon, not wanting to see their position diminish, elected Renard enthusiastically. This is where we will leave off today, with young Renard stepping into the shoes of his uncle, inheriting a strong economic state under siege with a new and growing military to fight back with. What type of man will Renard be? Cool and even like his father, or brash and headstrong like his uncle? What mark will Renard leave on the Federated Sun? Tune in next time to the Federated Sun's Data Dive to find out.
Confirmed, our next data dive is going to be Davion.
I mean,
No, the
that's
next Federated Sun's Data Dive. I was specific.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, we do have something coming up very soon, which is also a very iconic Federated Suns mech, so I'm sure the wait will not be nearly as long as it was last time.
Yay.
I mean, to be fair, there is a big Terran hegemony model push that happens in that window, so it makes sense that they got a lot of time in the spotlight.
I mean, military-industrial complex and conquering and doing Terran things.
Graft. More graft.
Our sources for today are Sarna, Battletech Battlemech Manual, Master Unit List, Succession Wars TRO and RS, 3050 Unabridged TRO and RS, Record Sheets 3085, Old is the New, Turning Points Death to Mercenaries, Experimental Tech Pirates, Sourcebook House Davion, and I guess a couple of the Battletech novels from the beginning to the end.
Warrior Trilogy,
Yeah.
Endgame. I also went in and dug in for Mr. Sortek. I dug into the FedCom Civil War source book, so
Yeah, there you go.
There's that.
We are supported by our Patreons at patreon.com/on the Origin of Battlemechs. Our social media on Twitter is at Origin of Mechs. We also have a dedicated channel on the Everything Battletech Discord. Feel free to stop by and say hi. If you have any questions, requests for topics, or wish to contact us, our email is ontheoriginofbattlemechs@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, I encourage you to let your friends know about us and to leave a review. Special thanks to my friend Laura for the intro and outro. Class dismissed. Everybody have a great day.
Peace out, Mech Warriors.
Stay safe out there.
Have a good one.
Module complete. System standby. Would you like to load the next module?